The sun of planet Unearthed rose like a red coin above the dunes, sending ripples of light across the sand. The air shimmered, dry and endless. A small human research camp stood alone in that desert, its silver tents and tall antennas glinting in the morning heat. Every morning began the same way, but on this day something new waited under the surface of the world. Mira walked out of her tent, squinting at the wide horizon. She was a scientist who loved to search for traces of ancient life. Her brown hair was tied back, her face marked by the faint dust that never left the air. She had worked on many planets before, but Unearthed had always felt special to her. Its silence seemed deeper, its skies larger, as if something old was hidden below, waiting to be found. The team had been studying the ground for weeks, scanning for mineral changes or strange magnetic fields. Most days they found nothing. The planet looked empty, a place where wind and sand were the only rulers. But 3 nights ago, the sensors had caught a pulse. It came from far below, repeating in perfect rhythm like a slow heartbeat. No natural source they knew could create that pattern. Inside the main tent, the machines hummed softly. Mira leaned over a display while her friend Ryan adjusted the sensors. He was calm and patient, the kind of person who liked to double-check every number before believing it. "The pulse is still coming," Ryan said. "Every 21 seconds. It does not change, not even with the wind or heat." Mira looked at the pattern on the screen. Each beat was clear, strong, and steady. "It feels like a signal," she said. Ryan smiled. "You always think everything is a message. Maybe this time you are right." They sent small probes into the sand. The machines dug downward layer by layer until they reached something solid. The data returned showed crystal shapes too perfect to be natural. It looked like a wall made of clear stone, covered by centuries of sand. Mira felt her heart race. She had studied alien ruins before, but nothing like this. Most ancient worlds showed signs of decay, corrosion, or rough shapes made by time. This structure looked pure, untouched, like it had been sealed away to sleep. By evening, the crew gathered around the dig site. There were 5 of them in total. Each person worked carefully, using machines that removed sand without damaging what lay below. As the sun sank lower, a soft glow rose from the pit. The buried surface shimmered faintly, as if it was catching light from inside the planet. No one spoke for a long time. The site held them still. The glowing surface stretched outward, smooth as glass with patterns that looked like waves frozen in motion. "What material is this?" Ryan whispered. "Unknown," Mira replied. She touched her scanner to the surface. "It is stable and the temperature is even. No cracks, no erosion." The glow grew brighter, shifting between gold and silver. Then, for a brief moment, the entire surface pulsed in time with the signal they had been tracking. The camp filled with quiet excitement. Mira ordered the equipment to record every detail. They needed to study it before making contact again. That night, under a deep blue sky filled with twin moons, Mira could not sleep. She walked back to the dig site alone. The sand around the pit was cool under her boots. The glowing surface still pulsed faintly, steady as before. She crouched near the edge, feeling a strange warmth in the air. She reached out and placed her hand on the surface. It felt smooth and alive, not cold like stone. The glow brightened under her touch, spreading outward in gentle rings. She pulled her hand back, startled, but the light slowly faded again. She ran to her tent and woke Ryan. "It reacts," she said. "To touch. Not pressure, not heat, but touch." They returned together, careful and curious. Ryan placed his hand on the surface, but nothing happened. Mira tried again, and the glow responded once more, bright and welcoming. Ryan stared in amazement. "Only you?" "It seems so," Mira said. "Maybe it responds to something in human biology. Or maybe just me, I cannot say yet." The next day they expanded the excavation. With every layer removed, the buried structure revealed more of itself. It was not just a wall, but the roof of a dome. Symbols began to appear, faintly etched in the crystal surface. The shapes looked like flowing letters curving like rivers. Mira photographed every mark. She noticed that the symbols seemed to change slightly each time she looked. They were not still carvings, but moving patterns of light. She wondered if they were part of a language that used energy instead of ink or sound. When the sun reached its highest point, the ground under them trembled slightly. The glow from the crystal deepened and a soft tone filled the air. It was a single pure note that seemed to vibrate inside the chest rather than the ears. The team stepped back in awe. The note continued for several seconds before fading. Then in the center of the dome, a section slowly melted away to reveal a passage leading downward. Cool air drifted out, carrying a faint scent like rain on stone. Mira's eyes shone. "It opened for us," she said. Ryan looked at the others. "We should record this and send it to command before we go inside." They agreed, but the message took time to send. The nearest relay satellite was several light hours away. While waiting, they set up lights around the entrance. The passage was wide enough for a person to walk comfortably. Its walls were smooth crystal, glowing softly. When permission finally came through, Mira led the way. She carried a small scanner and a light on her wrist. The passage curved gently downward. Every few meters, new symbols appeared on the walls. Some glowed faintly when she passed them, as if they recognized her presence. After a short walk, they reached a wide chamber. The ceiling arched high above, filled with patterns of shining threads that looked like stars. The floor was made of tiles that reflected their shapes perfectly, giving the feeling of standing in the sky. In the center stood a pedestal made of gold-colored metal. On it rested a crystal sphere that shimmered with colors shifting like sunrise. Mira stepped closer and raised her scanner, but before she could take a reading, the sphere projected a beam of light that formed shapes in the air. Figures appeared, tall beings with graceful forms, their skin like light and their eyes like burning jewels. They moved slowly, speaking in a language made of tones and colors. The scene played out like a memory. Mira watched as the beings built towers of fire and glass, cities that floated in the air and gardens that shone with living light. At the center of every scene stood one figure taller than the rest, wearing a crown that glowed brighter than the stars. The projection faded, leaving only the gentle hum of the chamber. Mira looked at Ryan, her face filled with wonder. "I think we found their queen," she said. Ryan nodded. "A queen who ruled a world of light, and we are standing in her tomb." They stood quietly for a long moment, feeling the weight of history pressing around them. Mira touched the pedestal again. The surface was warm and smooth. The sphere glowed faintly, and she felt a calm presence, as if the queen's spirit still lingered within the crystal. They returned to the surface, filled with questions. The camp buzzed with energy as they analyzed the data. Every signal, every sound, every symbol was recorded. Mira stared at the screen showing the pulse pattern once again. She realized the signal had changed slightly. Its rhythm was no longer steady but matched her own heartbeat. That night she sat outside watching the stars. The desert wind whispered across the dunes. The glow from the buried dome painted the sand in soft gold. Mira felt a strange peace mixed with curiosity. The tomb had opened for her, and she could feel that it was not done speaking yet. She wondered who the forgotten queen had been, what kind of world she had ruled, and why her tomb lay hidden under so much sand. There were no answers yet, only the steady pulse of the signal and the feeling that something ancient had just awakened. As she drifted to sleep, the crystal dome below gave one last soft shimmer as if breathing beneath the sand. The night of Unearthed was quiet again, but the message from the forgotten queen still waited, glowing beneath the surface, ready to share its story with the people of Earth who had come so far to find it. Morning came to Unearthed with a quiet beauty. The red sun rose slowly above the dunes, touching every grain of sand with a golden glow. The camp rested beside the shining dome that now stood uncovered like a crystal flower in the desert. The humans had opened the way inside, but what they had seen was only the beginning. Mira woke before the others. She stepped outside her tent and watched the horizon where the sand met the sky. The wind was gentle, carrying the faint hum of the structure below. It had not gone silent since the discovery. Instead, it sang a soft tone that faded and returned almost like breathing. She felt that the tomb was alive in some mysterious way. Rian joined her, holding 2 cups of warm drink. He handed one to her and looked toward the dome. "You could not sleep either," he said. Mira nodded. "It feels like the place is waiting for something. Every time I close my eyes, I see that image of the queen. I think she wants to tell us more." The rest of the team gathered soon after. They checked their scanners, charged the lights, and prepared for another descent into the tomb. The entrance still glowed softly, a clear path into the earth. Mira led the way, her heart calm but eager. Inside, the air was cool and smelled faintly of minerals and water. The walls reflected their movements in gentle colors. The deeper they went, the brighter the symbols became. The shapes shifted like flowing rivers of light, weaving across the surface as if guiding them forward. When they reached the main chamber again, The crystal sphere stood as before on the golden pedestal. But now a faint ring of light circled the floor around it. Mira noticed that the glow moved whenever she stepped closer. She felt a quiet pull, not of force but of invitation. She placed her hand near the sphere. It responded at once, sending a thin beam of light upward that spread into a circle above them. Patterns began to appear in the air, forming lines and symbols that spun slowly like the rings of a planet. Rian whispered, "It looks like a map." Mira nodded. The shapes resembled stars and orbits. Some points of light pulsed gently, showing places of importance. At the center of the pattern appeared a symbol that looked like a crown of fire surrounded by jewels. "The Queen," Mira said softly. "This must be her world." The images changed again. The crew saw a wide land filled with glowing rivers and tall towers that shone like crystal mountains. The sky above that world was not red but silver blue, filled with drifting shapes that looked like living lights. It was a city of peace and beauty. Mira felt a deep emotion rise inside her. She could sense joy in the images, as if the place was proud of what it once had been. The sphere then dimmed and the air filled with new shapes. This time the symbols arranged themselves into a doorway of light on the far side of the chamber. A hidden section of the wall began to shine, showing the outline of another passage. Mira stepped toward it. The wall did not open like a door. Instead, the light folded away, creating a clear tunnel ahead. Ryan scanned the air. "No radiation, no change in pressure. It is safe to enter," he said. They walked through the glowing arch. The passage was narrow and curved gently upward. The walls were covered in patterns that looked like flowing water frozen in crystal. As they walked, the patterns glowed brighter and faint sounds filled the air. The tones were gentle and musical, rising and falling like a distant choir. Mira listened carefully. She realized the sounds were forming rhythm and order, almost like words in a language. "It is communication," she said. "The tomb is speaking in light and sound." They reached the end of the passage and stepped into another chamber. This one was larger than the first, round and smooth like the inside of a pearl. In the center stood a tall gate made entirely of light. Its shape shifted slowly, like a curtain made of shining water. Beyond it they could see moving colors and distant forms that were hard to describe, as if looking through time itself. Mira walked closer. "This is what we found in the signal. This is the heart of the message," she said. When she raised her hand toward the gate, it shimmered more brightly. The tones around them changed, becoming softer and more harmonic. Then with a gentle flash, the gate projected new images in the air. They saw the Queen again. She stood in a vast hall filled with her people. Her crown glowed like a small sun and her eyes were calm. She raised her hand and the crowd bowed with deep respect. The Queen spoke and her voice sounded like many notes blending together. Mira could not understand the words, but she felt kindness and wisdom in them. The scene shifted to show the Queen standing beside a massive crystal engine. It looked like a sun trapped in glass. Streams of energy flowed from it to the cities across her world. The people used this power to grow food, to create light, to shape art. There was no sign of war or fear, only harmony and creation. Then the images grew dim. The sky and the vision turned dark and the light in the cities faded. The Queen stood alone in front of the crystal engine, placing her hands upon it. A bright wave spread outward and everything turned white. The projection ended, leaving silence in the chamber. Rian looked at Mira. It seems her world ended, but she preserved her memories here. Mira nodded slowly. She knew something was coming. She saved what she could. The tomb is not only a resting place, it is a library of light. The gate continued to shimmer softly. Mira stepped closer again. She placed her palm on the surface. The light rippled outward in perfect circles. Then one by one, glowing symbols appeared on the walls around her. They arranged themselves into patterns like sentences waiting to be read. Her scanner captured the symbols, translating small fragments. The words formed simple meanings. Welcome, keepers of memory. Touch to learn. Touch to remember. Mira felt her heart beat faster. The tomb had chosen them as its next caretakers. She turned to the others. It wants us to understand its knowledge. Maybe it holds lessons or technologies we can study. They began to explore the chamber carefully. Along the walls were crystal panels that shone with inner light. When touched, each one displayed different scenes, gardens, skies, oceans, and art forms they had never imagined. It was as if each panel held a memory from the Queen's world. One panel showed children playing with floating spheres of light. Another displayed musicians creating melodies through colors. Another showed builders shaping towers with their hands as if the material obeyed their will. Every vision carried peace, purpose, and beauty. The humans stood quietly, feeling humbled. They were explorers, but in that moment they felt like students in the presence of great teachers. Rian said softly, "If humanity learns from this, we could change everything about how we live." Mira nodded. The Queen left us these memories so we would not repeat her people's mistakes. Whatever ended their world, she hoped someone else would rise beyond it. The gate of light pulsed gently again as if agreeing. Then a final image appeared before them. It showed the same crystal sphere they had found earlier, now glowing with the same light as the gate. A line of symbols appeared beneath it. Mira read the translation on her scanner. Heart of remembrance. Only the seeker may open. Mira understood that the sphere was a key, a heart that connected all the chambers of the tomb. If activated, it might reveal even deeper truths hidden below. They returned to the main chamber to study it further. The sphere waited silently, glowing like a sleeping star. Mira placed her hands near it again. The rhythm of the light matched her pulse just as before. She closed her eyes and focused on the pattern. Slowly, the glow surrounded her hand, forming a ring of warmth. The others watched carefully. The air filled with a calm hum. Then the floor under the pedestal shifted slightly. A new staircase appeared, spiraling downward into darkness filled with golden light. Rian smiled with quiet awe. Another path. She wants us to keep going. Mira felt both wonder and responsibility. She knew they were not only discovering history, but awakening something that trusted them. The tomb seemed to test their intentions, opening new paths only when they showed respect and curiosity. She turned to the team. "We will rest tonight and go deeper tomorrow. Whatever lies below may hold the Queen's final story." That night the desert was silent again. The stars shone bright above and the crystal dome shimmered softly under the moonlight. Mira sat outside the camp, watching the glow that marked the tomb. She thought about the Queen and her people, about how they had built beauty instead of destruction, and how they had chosen to leave behind knowledge rather than fear. She whispered to the wind, "We will listen. We will remember." Below the sand, the gate of light pulsed once more, faint but steady, as if the Queen herself had heard the promise. The next morning came bright and quiet. The red sun of Unearthed rose over the dunes, shining on the crystal dome that lay half buried in golden sand. The air was still and warm. The human camp looked peaceful, but inside everyone moved with quiet energy. Something great waited below. Mira stood at the edge of the open dome, her eyes fixed on the staircase that had appeared the night before. It glowed with soft golden light winding down into the deep earth. She felt both excitement and calm. This was what she had been searching for all her life. Not a discovery of power, but one of meaning. Rian joined her with his tablet in hand. "All readings are stable," he said. "No sign of danger. The air below is clean. It seems the tomb creates its own balance," Mira smiled. "It is as if the place takes care of itself, like a living being protecting its heart." They gathered the rest of the team and prepared their equipment. Each person carried a light and a scanner. The air shimmered faintly as they descended the staircase. The glow from the walls followed them, moving in slow waves as if welcoming their steps. The stairs ended in a wide passage made of smooth crystal. The walls reflected their faces like mirrors, yet behind those reflections shimmered faint shapes, almost like shadows of people walking long ago. Mira touched the surface and the shapes grew clearer. She saw figures made of light, tall and graceful, walking side by side, holding orbs that shone like stars. "The people of the Queen," she whispered. "Their memories still live here." Rian nodded in wonder. "This is more than architecture. It is a story told through light." The passage led them forward until it opened into a grand hall. The sight made everyone stop in silence. The chamber was vast, round as a planet's heart, and filled with floating jewels that glimmered like suspended suns. Each jewel gave off a gentle light of its own color. Some were blue like deep oceans, some green like forest leaves, and others golden like sunlight. The floor beneath them was made of smooth silver stone, polished to a mirror finish. It reflected the glowing jewels above, creating an endless sky of light around them. The air felt calm and clean. Every step echoed softly, blending with a low musical tone that filled the chamber like a heartbeat. Mira walked slowly among the floating jewels. She raised her hand near one of them, a blue crystal that shimmered like water. When she came close, it began to spin gently. The light inside grew brighter and then projected an image into the air. The image showed a wide valley filled with shining rivers and crystal towers. Beings of light moved gracefully, tending to gardens that sparkled with energy. It was peaceful and bright. Mira felt a deep sense of calm as she watched. "This is her world," she said softly. "The Queen's memories are inside these jewels." Ryan examined another jewel nearby. When he touched it, it showed a scene of stars moving across the sky, forming shapes and patterns that looked like art. The people of the Queen's world used the stars as their canvas, painting the heavens with light. Every jewel told a different story. Some showed lands of beauty, others showed gatherings of the Queen's people singing in harmony, their voices turning into light that danced above their heads. None of the images showed sadness or fear. Every memory was bright, creative, and full of peace. Mira felt as if she was walking inside the Queen's soul. Each jewel was a piece of her life, her dreams, and her wisdom. The chamber did not feel like a tomb. It felt like a library of light and love. At the center of the hall stood a raised platform. Upon it rested a golden pedestal shaped like a blooming flower. In its center was a larger jewel, glowing with soft red and gold light. It looked alive, pulsing with warmth. The team gathered around it with quiet respect. Rian scanned it carefully. Energy levels are stable. No radiation. This jewel seems different from the others. It has a heartbeat pattern. Mira nodded. It is the core of the tomb. Maybe the heart of the Queen herself. She reached out her hand but stopped just before touching it. The air above the jewel shimmered, and then a projection formed. The Queen appeared once again. Her image was tall and radiant, her crown a circle of living flame that glowed without heat. Her expression was calm and kind. The Queen spoke in her melodic language. The sounds filled the room, rising and falling like a song. The translation device on Mira's arm captured the rhythm and began to interpret the meaning. Words appeared on the screen in simple sentences. "Welcome, seekers of memory. You have entered the heart of remembrance. These jewels hold the light of my people. We lived in harmony until the end of our world. The fire that gave us life grew too bright, and the stars closed around us. I preserved what remained so that new minds might learn and continue the song of creation." The projection paused. The Queen looked directly at Mira, though her eyes were made of light. "Only those who seek without greed can walk this path," the translation read. "If your heart is open, the jewels will share their truth. If you wish to take without understanding, they will turn silent." Mira lowered her head slightly in respect. "We are here to learn, not to take," she said softly. The Queen smiled and the projection faded. The central jewel began to glow brighter, filling the room with gentle warmth. The floating gems around the chamber responded to the light, spinning faster and releasing tiny sparks that rose like golden dust into the air. One by one, the jewels began to align themselves, forming patterns in the air above. The shapes turned into constellations that mirrored the stars outside. Mira realized it was a map, not of places but of memories. Each jewel represented a story, a lesson from the Queen's world. Rian looked at his screen in wonder. It is teaching us how they used light as energy. These patterns could show how they powered their cities and created life. The team worked carefully, recording every detail. They moved from jewel to jewel, letting each one reveal a different vision. Some showed the art of shaping crystal into music, others the creation of light gardens that could feed and heal. Every memory carried harmony between science and beauty. Mira felt deeply moved. She understood now that the Queen's people had not built their world for control, but for understanding. They had lived to explore light itself, both as energy and as spirit. The Queen's tomb was her gift to anyone who would come after, a message saying that knowledge without peace was hollow. Hours passed, though time seemed to lose meaning inside the glowing hall. Finally, Mira returned to the central jewel. The golden light pulsed softly as if waiting for her. She placed her hand gently above it. The warmth spread through her palm, not burning but comforting. A final image appeared. It showed the Queen standing before a grand city of crystal towers. She lifted her crown and placed it upon the pedestal where the jewel now rested. Her people bowed in light and then turned into shining streams that rose toward the sky, merging with the stars. The city faded, leaving only the glowing crown. The translation appeared again. We gave ourselves to the light. In our passing, we became the stars. The jewels you see are our memories. Carry them with care and they will guide your path among the skies. When the vision ended, the chamber grew quiet again. The jewels floated gently, their colors soft and calm. Mira stood still, feeling as though she had just spoken with something eternal. She turned to the others. The Queen's people became the stars. They did not die. They transformed. This tomb is not a grave but a bridge between their world and ours. Ryan smiled faintly, and she chose humans to find it. She trusted that we would understand. The team packed their equipment, but Mira kept her gaze on the central jewel. She knew the journey was not finished. The Queen's message spoke of deeper truths still hidden below. The tomb had revealed its beauty, but perhaps it also held a secret purpose beyond memory. As they prepared to return to the surface, the chamber lights dimmed for a moment. Then a beam of light rose from the central jewel and touched the ceiling. The surface above opened slowly, revealing a hidden path that spiraled upward through crystal layers. Ryan looked at the scanner. It leads to another section higher than this one. Maybe a final chamber, Mira smiled. The Queen is still guiding us. We will go where she leads. They climbed the new path together. The walls around them glowed with a gentle rhythm, as if singing. The air grew warmer, filled with faint sparkles of light that floated like living dust. At last they reached a small round room above the chamber of jewels. Inside stood another pedestal, this one shaped like a crown made of fire. Mira looked at it with awe. "This must be the Queen's Gate," she said, the place where her spirit joined the stars. The jewel in the center of the crown glowed faintly, waiting. Mira knew their next step would bring them closer to the truth of the forgotten Queen and the legacy she had left for humankind. The night passed quietly over the sands of Unearthed. Stars shimmered above the desert, bright and endless. The human camp rested near the glowing dome that had become their window into another world. Inside the tents, most of the crew slept, but Mira stayed awake. She sat outside, watching the faint golden light that still pulsed under the dunes. It reminded her of a heartbeat steady and calm. She thought about the Queen's message. The memories in the jewels had shown a civilization filled with peace and wisdom. Every image had carried hope, not sorrow. The Queen had spoken of trust, of sharing knowledge with those who sought it with pure intent. Mira felt a sense of honor that the tomb had opened to her. She also felt the weight of the task ahead. At dawn, she gathered the team. The sun rose behind them, painting the sky red and gold. Ryan checked the readings from the chamber below. The data showed rising energy near the upper path they had discovered. "It seems to lead to another section," he said. "The energy is stable but growing stronger. Whatever is up there is waking," Mira nodded. "Then we must go and see it. The Queen is guiding us. We should not turn away now." They prepared once again, checking lights and scanners. The entrance shimmered faintly as they descended into the tomb. The glowing staircase led them through the chamber of jewels, which now seemed brighter than before. The floating gems drifted slowly, releasing tiny sparks of color. The air carried a faint music that rose and fell like the breath of the place itself. When they reached the narrow path leading upward, Mira took the first step. The walls were smooth and filled with golden light. Small streams of color moved through the crystal like veins carrying energy. The higher they climbed, the warmer the air became. It was not unpleasant, only comforting, as if the tomb recognized them. After several turns, they reached the new chamber. It was smaller than the others, but more radiant. The ceiling shone with steady firelight that moved like liquid gold. In the center stood a pedestal shaped like a crown made of flame. Its edges glowed softly, and within it rested a round crystal, clear as glass but filled with moving light inside. Mira stepped forward. "This must be the Queen's Gate," she said, the place where her spirit joined the stars. The team surrounded the pedestal in silence. No one spoke for a moment. The air carried a faint hum that seemed to come from everywhere. Mira placed her scanner near the crystal. The reading showed a strong but gentle energy pattern. "It feels alive," Rian said quietly. "Not in a physical way, but something inside it is aware." Mira nodded. She could sense it too. The crystal seemed to glow in rhythm with her heartbeat. She raised her hand slowly. When her fingers came close, the light within the crystal grew brighter. A wave of warmth spread through the room. Then, without warning, a figure appeared above the pedestal. It was the Queen again. Her image was tall and radiant, her crown shining with soft fire. She looked peaceful and full of grace. The music in the air changed, turning into gentle chords that filled the space like sunlight through water. The queen spoke, her voice a harmony of tones. The translator on Mira's arm began to form words. You have walked the halls of remembrance. You have seen our light. You came not to take but to learn. Now the final truth will be shown to you. The light around the walls grew brighter. The entire chamber turned into a sea of color. The floor disappeared beneath their feet, replaced by a vision that opened around them like a living dream. They stood among the stars. In every direction stretched endless galaxies filled with glowing worlds. In the center shone a great sun surrounded by 7 planets, each one reflecting a different color. Mira realized she was seeing the Queen's world as it had once been. The Queen's voice continued. We were children of the light. We shaped energy into life, art, and harmony. But our greatest gift was also our challenge. The fire that powered our world grew beyond our control. It could not be stopped, only transformed. So we turned our world into a song of memory. Our bodies became light. Our hearts became jewels. Our voices became the stars themselves. The image changed again. Mira saw the people of the Queen's world standing together in fields of shining grass. Their hands touched and waves of light rose from them, joining in the sky. One by one, they transformed into streams of pure energy that drifted upward until only the Queen remained. She stood alone beside the crystal crown. She smiled softly, placing her hand over her heart. Then she lifted her crown and set it upon the pedestal where the humans now stood. Her body turned into light, spreading across the heavens like dawn. The world below faded, leaving a single star burning bright. The vision faded, and the humans stood once again in the golden chamber. The Queen's image still shone before them. She looked directly at Mira. My people left this place as a promise, the translator read. We believed that one day, another species would rise to continue the path of light. Humanity has the power to create or to destroy. You stand at a choice. If you choose creation, our light will become yours. Mira felt her throat tighten with emotion. We will honor your gift, she said. We will carry your light with care. The Queen smiled. Then the gate shall open. The crystal in the crown began to glow with brilliant gold light. The walls of the chamber reflected the color until everything shone like liquid fire. The team shielded their eyes, but the brightness carried no pain. It was warm and gentle, like sunlight after rain. When the light softened, they saw that the crystal had changed. It now floated above the pedestal, spinning slowly. Thin streams of energy stretched outward, touching each person's chest with a faint glow. Mira felt a soft pulse of warmth in her heart. For a moment, she saw flashes of color behind her eyes, scenes of light and harmony. It felt as if the Queen was sharing a piece of her world with them. The projection spoke again. The gift is knowledge. The jewels below hold the key to clean energy, to peace, and to balance with the stars. Carry this gift to your world and let it grow. Do not let it fall to greed or fear. Then the Queen's image faded. The crystal drifted downward and rested once more on the crown. The room dimmed until only a gentle light remained. The hum in the air changed to a calm, steady tone, like a promise. Rian looked around in awe. She gave us the answer to everything we have been searching for. This is more than history. It is hope, Mira nodded. It is a gift, but also a responsibility. We must protect it. They carefully recorded every reading, every light pattern, and every sound. The data showed a new form of energy that was stable and infinite. If it could be understood and used, it might power entire worlds without harm. As they prepared to return to the surface, Mira turned for one last look at the crown. She bowed her head in quiet respect. Thank you, Queen of Light. Humanity will remember you. The path down the staircase was calm and filled with a faint golden mist. The floating jewels in the chamber below greeted them with soft light, as if blessing their journey. When they reached the dome's entrance, the sunlight of Unearthed poured in. The desert outside looked brighter, almost alive. They stepped into the open air. The wind moved gently, carrying a faint golden shimmer. Mira looked at Rian and the rest of the team. We did not find a tomb, she said. We found a gift from the stars. Ryan smiled. And now we must share it. They packed their equipment and prepared their ship. The data from the tomb filled their systems. The jewel they had chosen to bring back glowed softly inside its protective case. It pulsed with the same rhythm as the Queen's crown. As the ship rose from the sand, Mira looked through the window at the glowing dome below. The structure shimmered faintly in the morning light. Then it grew still, returning to its timeless rest beneath the dunes. The flight through Unearthed's sky was smooth and bright. Mira watched the red planet shrink behind them until it became a small golden dot. Ahead lay the stars, wide and endless. She felt peace in her heart. Humanity had been given something precious. It was now their duty to protect it and let it guide them toward a better future. The Queen's final words echoed in her mind. "Carry this gift to your world and let it grow." Mira smiled softly and whispered to the stars, "We will keep your light alive." The ship turned toward Earth, its engines glowing with gentle light. Behind them, Unearthed's desert shone quietly, keeping its secret safe beneath the sand. Far above, a new star twinkled in the sky, bright and warm, as if the Queen herself watched from the heavens, content that her light had finally found a new home among humankind. The human ship rose above the red dunes of Unearthed, leaving behind the glowing dome and the hidden tomb that had shared its light. The desert below shimmered faintly under the rising sun, a quiet witness to the moment that would change humanity. Mira stood at the observation deck, her hands resting on the rail, and watched the planet shrink into the distance. She could feel the pulse of the jewel they had carried, steady and warm. It was a heartbeat from another world, a gift of wisdom and hope. Rian joined her silently. He looked at the jewel encased in protective glass, its light reflecting in his eyes. "It feels alive," he said quietly. "Like it is aware of where it is going." Mira nodded. "The Queen entrusted it to us. It carries not only her memory but the trust of her people. We must use it wisely." The rest of the crew moved about the ship, checking instruments and monitoring the energy readings from the jewel. Every screen displayed glowing lines of light, complex patterns that changed in rhythm with the gem. It was unlike any power source they had ever encountered. The jewel did not burn fuel or create heat. Its energy was clean, stable, and infinite. As the ship passed through the upper atmosphere of Unearthed, Mira thought of the Queen's world and the lessons they had learned. The people had lived in harmony with energy and each other. They had shaped their lives with creativity, music, and light. Their civilization had not sought control or dominance. Instead, they had given themselves to the art of living in balance with their world. She turned to Ryan. "If we can understand even a fraction of what we saw, humanity could change. We could build cities powered by light, heal the environment, and explore the stars without harming them." Ryan smiled faintly. "It is a gift, but also a responsibility. The Queen warned us not to misuse it. We have to remember that," Mira agreed. "We will carry her message. That is our mission now." The ship moved steadily toward the stars, leaving Unearthed behind. As they traveled, the jewel pulsed softly, filling the ship with gentle warmth. The crew found themselves inspired and energized. It was as if the memories of the Queen's people were flowing into them, not as visions this time, but as understanding. They felt creativity stir within them. Ideas for new technology and ways to live in harmony with energy came naturally, as if the gem guided their minds. During the journey, Mira spent hours studying the jewel. She traced the lines of light within it, noticing patterns that resembled musical notes, mathematical shapes, and structures of crystals. It was a language beyond ordinary words, one that combined art and science. She realized that the Queen had left them not only knowledge but a way to think differently, to see connections between energy, life, and beauty. Rian joined her again. "Do you think the jewel will respond to all of humanity?" he asked. "Or only to those who are ready?" Mira considered this carefully. "I think it will respond to those who seek without selfishness." The Queen said her people waited for someone with courage and curiosity. "We are only the first. Others may follow if they have the same heart." The ship moved past the orbit of Unearthed, entering the wider space between stars. Mira looked out at the endless black sprinkled with white points of light. Each star seemed like a possibility, a world waiting to be discovered. She felt that the Queen's gift was not just energy or knowledge. It was a way to remind humanity that exploration could be a force for understanding, beauty, and peace. Below, the jewel continued to glow, sending subtle pulses through the ship. Each pulse seemed to carry memories of color, sound, and motion. Mira closed her eyes and let herself feel the rhythm. For a moment, she saw the Queen standing in her hall of floating jewels. She was smiling, her crown of fire reflecting in every gem. Then she saw the people of the Queen's world, transformed into streams of light joining the stars above. The vision faded, leaving Mira with a sense of calm and purpose. She opened her eyes and saw Ryan watching her quietly. "It is beautiful," he said softly. "I feel like we are not alone out here anymore. The stars are full of stories, and we are part of one now." Mira nodded. "We have to share it. Humanity needs to see that we are capable of more than we imagine. We can live with the stars instead of fearing them." As the journey continued, the crew worked together to study the jewel. They discovered ways to convert its energy into usable forms. Lights powered instantly without consuming any fuel. Machines moved silently, guided by the energy flowing from the gem. Even small devices like scanners and communication tools drew strength from it without any waste. Mira realized that the Queen's gift was practical as well as symbolic. Her civilization had not only survived but had thrived, because they had learned to live in balance with energy. The jewel was the culmination of that knowledge. During one quiet moment, Mira stood alone at the observation deck again. The stars stretched endlessly before her, and she thought about Earth, far behind them now. She imagined humans looking up at the night sky, wondering what lay beyond their world. Soon, she thought, the stories of the Queen and her people would inspire humanity to reach higher, to explore with care and understanding. The crew spent weeks traveling back to the solar system. Each day they tested new ways to use the jewel's energy. Every experiment revealed more possibilities. The jewel did not demand action. It responded to intention. When the team approached it with curiosity and care, it shared its knowledge. When they paused to reflect, it seemed to wait patiently, as if teaching them to respect the rhythm of life itself. Mira found herself thinking often of the Queen's words. "Carry this gift to your world, and let it grow." She understood now that the growth was not just in technology or power, but in wisdom. Humanity could learn to live more thoughtfully, create more beautifully, and explore more harmoniously. As they entered the solar system, the Earth came into view. It was a blue and green jewel of a planet, small but alive. Mira felt a sense of responsibility deepen in her chest. The Queen's gift was not only a discovery, it was a challenge. Could humans rise to meet it? Could they use this knowledge to improve life for all people and for the planet itself? The crew prepared for landing. The jewel remained encased safely, pulsing with gentle light. Mira watched it as if it were a living companion. She felt a connection between herself, the Queen, and the people whose memories filled the jewels. When they finally touched down on Earth, the sun shone bright above. The team moved quickly but carefully to set up the jewel in a controlled laboratory. Scientists and engineers from around the world gathered to observe. Mira and Ryan explained the nature of the discovery, emphasizing the responsibility that came with it. "This is more than energy," Mira said to the assembled scientists. "It is knowledge, history, and guidance. We must learn from it carefully and share it wisely." The Queen left this gift for all of humanity. The jewel pulsed softly in response. Its light reflected in the faces of the people around it, showing the excitement and awe in their eyes. They could feel the energy without touching it. For a moment there was silence, and then the room filled with quiet whispers of wonder. Over the following months, scientists carefully studied the jewel. They discovered ways to create clean energy, new methods of communication, and even designs for cities that could grow without harming the planet. Every discovery was accompanied by lessons in balance and creativity, lessons that seemed to flow directly from the Queen's memories. Mira watched as humanity slowly began to change. Cities became brighter without burning fuel. Machines moved more gracefully and silently. People found inspiration in the beauty of the knowledge, using it to create art, music, and learning systems unlike anything before. One evening, Mira stood on a hill overlooking the city where the jewel had been installed. The lights of the buildings shimmered with gentle colors, flowing and shifting as if alive. The air felt cleaner, the energy lighter. Children played in gardens powered by the jewel's energy, and music rose softly from the city. She thought of the Queen and her people, now part of the stars. Their light had traveled across space through Unearthed and into the hands of humans who were ready to understand. Mira smiled, feeling a sense of completion. Humanity had found not only energy but a new way to see the universe. The jewel pulsed gently in her mind's eye. Mira whispered, "We have remembered. We will carry your light." Above, the stars shone brighter than ever, each one a potential world of knowledge and beauty. The tomb of the forgotten Queen remained on Unearthed, quiet beneath the sand. But her gift traveled among the stars now, guiding humanity toward a future filled with hope, wisdom, and creation. Mira turned from the hill and looked at the city once more. The pulse of the jewel continued in rhythm with her own heartbeat. She knew the journey was just beginning. Humanity would explore, learn, and create, and the Queen's light would be there every step of the way. As the night deepened, the stars twinkled, reminding all who looked up that in the vastness of space, there was beauty, knowledge, and a promise waiting for those who sought it with open hearts. The gift of the Queen had arrived. Humanity was ready to carry it forward, to build a world of light and harmony. The jewel pulsed softly, steady and constant, like the heartbeat of a civilization reborn. Mira smiled. The stars were no longer distant. They were home,